Lowry did lots of landscapes, and the landscapes were also full of lots of portraits because he would put lots of characters into his landscapes. But he used many different techniques when he would put his landscapes together. Some of them are quite theatrical, so he would paint his landscapes almost like theatrical backdrops with shapes layered in front of other shapes. With this picture here, which is of Francis Terrace in Salford, what he's used is a technique called two-dimensional linear perspective, which is a way of drawing when you're just using a tool that makes lines on a flat surface, but to make something look three-dimensional, so it has some depth to it, as if we could walk down the street. And that's quite a difficult sounding technique, but we'll go through this one stage at a time so that we'll see exactly how you can put this together. Okay, so what we're going to do here is a landscape picture which is going to use this technique called 2D linear perspective, which means that we're going to use just a pencil and paper, but hopefully create a kind of a three-dimensional effect on the page. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to have a line that's going to run kind of straight across the middle of the page. Now, to get your line nice and straight, you don't need to use any rulers for this, but if you hold your pencil correctly, and if you just let that heavy bit of your hand anchor down on the page, you can just, if you push from your shoulder, you should be able to get a line that will come straight across the page like that. Don't worry if there's a slight wobble in this, because there's a lot of wobbliness in Lowry's original, and that's really what we're trying to get across here. The Lowry picture that we're looking at is his sketch of Francis Terrace in Salford, which is a view that he really likes because he sketched this a good few times. Okay, so once we have this line across the centre, we're going to add some more lines in here. I'm going to start in this top corner of the page here, and I'm going to come down into a big V shape that's going to come into the centre of the page there, and from there, I'm keeping my pencil on the page, and I'm going to come up into the other corner there. So it's kind of like a K that's lying down, but it's a big kind of V shape on there. So then from the bottom here, I'm going to have another line that's going to come from this corner. It's going to come into the centre. I'm aiming it to the centre so it touches. Now these lines all have to touch in the middle here, and then from there I'm going to come off to that corner there. So we have something that looks a little bit like an envelope now, with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines, all of which are touching in the middle, and the important thing is that bit of them touching there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come back to this line over here, and this time I'm going to lean on a little bit more heavily. So I'm going to come back along this line until I get to about there, and then from there I'm going to come straight down. I'm going to come past that first line, and I'll land on that second line there. And once I've landed on that, I'm going to come back along there. Okay, now I'm going to do the same again on this side. I'm going to lean on much more heavily on here. I'm going to come along, come along, till I get to about there. And then from there, I'm going to come straight down, again past that first line, land on that second line, come back along there. Then I'm going to join these two bits up. Now, when you look at Lowry's original, you'll see that the line actually has a little bit of a dip in it here, so I'm going to try to put that in so it's not too straight. This line, dip a little bit, come up there. Okay. Now, these are going to be our blocks of buildings. Okay, so to make them look more like the buildings, if I again come back to this line over here, and I'm going to come along here, stop there, come straight down to there. Okay, and then on this side, just to finish this little section off, I'm just going to put a little line there. On this side over here, I'm going to have a line, again, come along to about there, and then from there, I'm going to come straight down, past that first line, land there. And I'm going to put a bit of a different shape in here, so I'm going to do another line along this edge here. That's going to come in there and come down there. Okay. Okay, now to make these buildings really look like buildings, we need to get the windows, we need to get the doors in place. So to do this, I'm going to use these guidelines up here to create some more guidelines, and we're going to get some parallel lines coming in here. And parallel lines are lines that never touch and never meet. So where I have this top line here, I'm going to come below that line, and I'm going to run a line that's parallel to it, that's going to come along here like this. Okay, and I can do the same on this side. I'm using that line there. I'm going to come just below it and have a line that's parallel to it that will come along here like that. This centre line in the middle here, I'm going to come above the centre line and have a line that's parallel to that, that's going to come along here like this, and above there it's going to come along there like that. Okay, now between these lines I'm going to fit my windows in. So the windows are really going to be long, skinny, rectangular shapes. So we're going to have one that's going to come in here like this. We're going to have another one that's going to come in here like this. We're going to have a third one in here like this. Another one here. And then one last one at the end here. Okay, and I can also use that top guideline. If I come below that, I can get the middle of the window frame in there, and there, and there, there, and there. Now on this side, not so many windows to do, just got the 4. So the first one is going to come into here. Another one in here, and we'll have one last one just in here. And again, I can use that top guide as a way to get the window frames in there. Okay, so now we've got the top set of windows in, we can look at these sections here and getting the doors and windows in. So again, if I use that middle line as a guide, if I just come below that and do a line that goes in parallel to that there, and a parallel one there, and then from that bottom line there, if I come up to here and do a line that's parallel to that there, and a line that's parallel to that there, then I can start to drop some more windows in. Now this time I'm going to use these two guides to put a window into there, but with the next bit I need to have a door, so I'll use that bottom line as my guide. So from there I'll come up to put the door in place there. Over here we've got another window in here, then we'll have another door, then we'll have another window, then I'll have another door, and then just fit one more window in at the end there. Okay, on this side fit a window in there, And then we can have a door here. Then a window. Then another door. And the window. Okay, and again we can use that. This time we're going to use the top guide for our window frames. So I'm going to get the middle of the window frame in line there, and the middle of the window frame in line there. Okay, now we can make these windows look a bit more individual as well. So we can put things like underneath the windows, we can put the window ledges. Okay, we can also have some of these windows could be open. So with this one here, this one's going to be open, so I can just shade that bottom part in there. This one can be not quite so open, so just shade the bottom part in there. This one can be open a bit more, so again I can shade all of this bit in. Equally, I'm using my pencil, and Lowry used to love to shade like this. He used to love to really play around with these cross hatches, so that he would put marks in like this, just to get some texture into his pictures. Again, we do the same on this side. We can have that window a little bit open. We can have this door here shaded. And we can now get rid of some of our guidelines, so I'm going to get rid of that guideline there, and those bits between the windows and there. It's really good when you get rid of the guidelines as well. It looks as if you've just kind of drawn these bits in without any kind of help underneath there. Lowry also used his guidelines to get some ideas, and we'll come back to that in a little bit. Just get rid of those. Another thing we can do to really help with this three-dimensional effect is if we shade in this area here. So I'm going to use my graphite stick to just shade all of this area here in. This just helps to add some depth into the picture. So it's just going to be that section there. And on this side, I'm going to shade in all of this section here. Now, the buildings at this time, when Lowry drew this picture, he drew this in 1956, and at the time there was lots of pollution because everybody was burning fossil fuel, everybody was burning coal, so the buildings would have actually been quite dirty. So I'm just going to put the top, make this the top of a wall here, so I'm just going to add a line there, get some little brick effects in there. But if you use your finger to just blend in, like I'm blending these graphite bits here and here, you can then use your finger to draw with and to add some kind of smoky effects to these buildings to just dirty them up a little bit, because they would not have been very clean. The other way to do this is if you just add some hatches in here smudge. Those bits in there. Okay, so what we're going to add now is, Lowry's used these guidelines. Whenever artists use this technique, it's really to focus your eye on what's here, what's in the centre, because it really is like a target. And what Lowry does is, he uses this bit, he's looked at this and thought, actually, that bit kind of looks a bit like a rooftop. So he's made it into a roof. So he's gone along this guide here, and that bit there, and then just gone straight down there. He's come along here. So he's made this into the roof of a building. Okay, a factory building at the end of the terrace street. Now, some of the terrace streets were actually quite high up. So along the end of this one, there's actually a fence. So if we get a fence that comes along here, like this, that we can put some railings in place here. Okay, we can also, because this is a factory building, again, there were lots of pollution involved with the factories and the kind of stuff that they were manufacturing. So, to get rid of the smoke from the factories, they would have had lots of chimneys. So out of this building here, we're going to have a chimney stack that's going to come up to here like this. Which again, with this chimney stack, it's going to be much blacker and darker at the top, and then lighter as that comes down the stack. So I can darken this bit at the top here, and again you can use your finger to kind of smudge that to get the effect of smoke coming out the top of that chimney there. And then next to that there is another chimney which is kind of made out of different rectangular shapes. So if we have a rectangular shape coming up here like this, very long thin rectangle, with another one going across it here, with two smaller bits coming out of there, and again we can shade those in. Okay, now one finishing touch. I'm not going to add the figures to this one because we're just going to concentrate on the background, but as a finishing touch we can get rid of those guidelines there. And along the bottom here, just to add to this 3D effect, if I get a line, that was kind of our middle bit, so if I have a line that comes along there, now on this side I'm going to have lines that are going to shift in angle like this. So I have a line that comes up like that, and another one like that. And on this side, the lines will angle the other way, like that. And then in between these, I can make some, if I get some lines coming across, I can add some paving stones or cobblestones along here. Now what Lowry did on his was he kind of added some of these cobblestones, but then he made sure that at this end the lines are much closer together, so then that gets the sense of these bits down here being much further away. So he had a few big gaps here at this end and much smaller gaps down at this far end. So I'm just putting some random kind of lines horizontally across here. And then Lowry would use his rubber to actually take one or two bits out in between those lines. So he's actually using his rubber as a thing to draw with, not to correct anything with. So again, when you finish your artwork, a couple of finishing touches, we can get the middle of the window frames coming through there. You can add some more detail to the buildings. Now, again, Lowry signed his work here. He's put his initials. So if you want to sound like a professional artist, if you use your initials on your work, and this actual picture he did originally did in 1956. So we've got his name and the date in there.
We would love to see your LS Lowry inspired artwork. Why not enter the Copley Prize, the Lowry's annual drawing competition for primary school aged children? The winner's work will be displayed on the walls of the Lowry Gallery for a year, and your school will win an art workshop. For more information, visit thelowry.com/the Copley Prize.